Hey, so I have read the new Armies of Germany book. Warlord Games was kind enough to send me a copy, and these are my initial thoughts from a competitive standpoint. Let's do this. So the book is rather nice. It's a big book. It's a heavy book. There's lots of stuff in it. As a book, it's really worth the buy, I would say. But is it good from a competitive standpoint? Well, the first thing that stands out to me is the new national special rules. There are some that are good, and there are some that are meh, that I don't think is going to be like something that you see a lot of. So, on the good side, Germany still gets the Hitler's Buzzsaw rule, which is a plus for the MGs, which is always good. And with the increased power of MMGs or MGs, LMGs even in version 3, I think the Buzzsaw rule is really good. And I think for most German units, an LMG or an MMG is more or less a no-brain auto-include. It's really, really good. The Blitzkrieg is also very, very nice, especially for the company commanders. That +1 snap 2, really good. Even for the regular commanders, the platoon commanders, having the ability to snap 3 units is actually kind of good here in version 3. So both of those are really good. Now, the big change is something that I've been asking for quite a while. I've been asking to please have options. Warlord Games, please make options that I can choose from. And they do that with this Armies of Germany book. They have Defend the Fatherland as an overarching title of basically 3 national special rules, more or less. So choices, that's always good. I like choices. You can choose between Fallschirmjägers that are stubborn, or you can choose Waffen-SS that are fanatics and there's like a mixed quality, something for the inexperienced units as well. And you can choose the Gebirgsjäger, which have fieldcraft. So that is the choices, and that is mostly for your veteran infantry that these choices have an effect. However, those same choices are, in my opinion, not really choices. Stubborn in V3 is meh at best. I don't see any reason to go and buy stubborn for 1 point. Why would you? I don't know. It's I don't see the point of that. No, I'm sorry, not competitively. No, I don't. Fanatics, they would have been awesome to have in V2, but in V3, nah. Fnatic is best in close combat, and close combat is gone from V3. So the only real choice for me is to take the Gebirgsjägers, which have fieldcraft, and fieldcraft is awesome. So for me, it's sort of not a real choice, but mileage may vary, and it's still early days, so we don't really know how this will all pan out. In other things that I think is a little bit meh, the initiative training now doesn't mean that your NCO survives. It just means that your unit ignores his loss. If a sniper kills your NCO, okay, nothing happens. Your morale doesn't go down. So that's more or less an automatic. It does make bookkeeping a little easier, and it does give German units a little bit more power to survive the loss of the NCO, but I mean, is it special? Is it good? Is it competitive? No, not especially. And then there was one thing which I was really hoping for, Panzer Ace. Panzer Ace could have been good. It really could have. But it's not. It is limited to the very expensive heavier tanks that are veteran, which means that you are going to have to invest 250 points plus into a tank in order to gain Panzer Ace. It's an attempt at making Death Stars a little bit more worth it, and I don't think it's enough. They are a little bit more deadly, but there's only 6 turns in a game, and yeah, I mean, are they going to kill 6 units? I don't think so. And then we have Quartermaster Stores, where there's a few bits and bobs that are special to the Germans. Again, meh. There's demolition charges, which I predict actually will also turn up in other books at some point. The demo charges are good. They're a 3-inch template, but they are finicky to use at best. So I'm not seeing many situations where they are good and they are going to be used. And then we have Schützen. So Schürzen, the skirts, the skirts for the tracks for the panzers. These now don't give +1 armor. They give instead they make they have an effect on shape charges and on anti-tank rifles. Is it good? It's not great. It doesn't change anything up. It doesn't make me want to build Germans in a different way, run field Germans, do tactical things in a different way. So National Special Rules was a little bit of a letdown here. Nothing really new, nothing where you could say this is something that changes everything. Something that does change everything is the HQ options, because all of a sudden weapons are bought. You have to buy your weapons for your officers. You can buy an intelligence officer for 50 points. Is it worth it? I don't think so. It's a once per game roll, and you get a bonus if you're a veteran. I mean, okay. But you're already investing extra points into the officer to get him to be veteran or regular. I'm not seeing that as something that's massively. It does mean that in one turn you can pull out the dice you want if you make the roll, but it's a roll off. It's not an absolute certainty. And you can also buy a horse for 3 points, which is great. It's an awesome option. I think that is actually a lot more worth it than looking at the intelligence officer. The infantry, looking down through the infantry, most units have so many gear options. All the gear you can possibly want to buy, which leads me back to the version 2 Germans that had so much gear and didn't really take it because it wasn't competitive. Buying gear for your troops wasn't really good at any point. Panzer Grenadiers from, I can't remember where they were from, but they had that re-roll to get out of a Hanomag. They still have that, which is great. It's situational, but it's a nice little bonus. So your Hanomag can go up, it can get pinned, but your Panzer Grenadiers will have the re-roll to disembark, which is really nice. And then there's something which I have to ask. Gebirgsjägers, when you look at their entry, it says that they are Pathfinders, but it doesn't say anywhere in the rulebook what Pathfinders is. Perhaps I can find it in the rulebook here. Pathfinders, let me look here. Path paratroopers. No, I can't. What is Pathfinders? What does it do? There's a special rule that it doesn't say what it does. I'm bewildered. Maybe it's the same as the American Rangers get? That they make a move, and if that's the case, and they have fieldcraft on top of that, then the Gebirgsjägers are going to be my go-to Germans. They're going to be really, really good. Spartruppen is also a good infiltrator unit. A little expensive because they're veterans, but they remind me of the Soviet scouts a little bit. Field Gendarmerie, you can do the usual shenanigans. They can direct traffic, which now only affects your vehicles, but they can also make your shirkers ignore shirk, which is nice. And shirkers are only 25 points, so you get a lot of very, very cheap, crappy units if you want to field those with field gendarmes. It's a way to build a very, very cheap force. The Germans now also get Stuk riders, but you have to buy a Stuk for them to ride the tank. So it's not tank riders as the Soviets get that can ride any tank. It's specifically for the Stuks. Brandenburgers are good, as they're more or less as they used to be. The Waffen-SS cavalry, oh, how I would have wanted these guys to be in version 2. Fanatic tough fighters, that's a good combination. Unfortunately, they were so expensive in version 2. Now I think they're actually on par with what they do. But now the Fanatic, the close combat is not going to happen that much anyway. So, Cossacks though, Cossacks might be interesting. They're cavalry, you can buy them regular or veteran, and they have fieldcraft. Though not for charging, harching, whatever. I'm writing weird stuff on my PowerPoint. They don't get the fieldcraft when they charge. They can't ignore defended obstacles, basically. So for me, Cossacks may be the cavalry to go to, especially because I have a bunch of Cossacks from my Ukrainian partisan army. So, and then we have fifth column infiltrators, which is a very cheap, dirt cheap infiltration unit, which means that I think one of the things that we can see happen is that the Germans now dominate the infiltration game because they have so many very cheap infiltrators. New gear. Is there anything in the new gear that's interesting? Well, the Sturmpistole, which has a +3 penetration, 6-inch, 5 points. It's a very cheap version of a very crappy Panzerfaust. Is that worth it? I think potentially it could be. For 5 points to have a +3 penetration pistol. Yeah, that might actually be worth it. Having that on your some sort of mechanized infantry that moves up and then shoots the tank in the side with a +3 for having moved but being point blank, and then +3 penetration. Yeah, I could see that happening. You can also get a grenade launcher, the GRB39, which has an HE1 or a +3 penetration, 24-inch, 30 points. So it's a little bit like getting a little bit of a bazooka, a crappy bazooka in your units. For 30 points, it's expensive. I think the Panzerfausts are better, but maybe we'll see that happening. The 20 points for a demo charge, HE3, I'm not seeing that happening. They're just too finicky to use. But the Einsturzflammenwerfer, so the one-shot flamer, you can take 2 of those, replacing the flamer for a flamethrower team. Now, flamethrower teams were typically dead after they had disembarked. So having 2 shots instead of 1, I think that could actually be a thing. And the heroes of Ibn Amail, I'm flaming better than everyone else. I can't find that in the book. So, and I also can't find the LMG teams that I really wanted to be there. These would have made Germany great again, I think. But now they're not there. But that maneuverable small 2-man team with an LMG, that could have been so great for Germans. Also, they still don't get smoke grenades on their light mortars. And the Goliath is still expensive and bad. It's sort of a dog mine, but bad, and it costs 50 points. So don't ever take them. Again, a little bit of a wasted opportunity in my opinion. So what is good? Well, if we look through the artillery section, they get all the usual stuff. So many anti-tank guns that you don't know what to do with. And the howitzers are there, of course. But what is really good is the multi-rocket launchers and the autocannons. The autocannons, the Germans get access to autocannons, both heavy and light, and they can double up on all of them. So I'm thinking the Flak Zwilling for 90 points. I'm thinking the light autocannon with the gun shield for 40 points. Both of those are good options. But even better is the Howling Cow for 36 points. So a battery of German multi-rocket launchers, I think, is going to be so deadly, so overpowered and deadly that you won't believe it. And you can buy 5 of these in each artillery platoon, which is, bad. What about the tanks? Well, the Panzer 1 and 2 are absolutely golden. They are so goddamn good. You have access to MMGs or light autocannons, and the MMGs all get Hitler's boss saw, and you can get Recce on some of them. They are what I think we're going to see on all the tables now. The Panzer 1 and 2s. The darker Panzer 3, rest in peace, is gone. It's not there anymore. You can't find it. You can't field it. But you can field T-35s and 38s, the Czechoslovakian tanks. So my Czechoslovakian tanks may actually be back on the tables. 115 points. You get a Recce 8+ light autocannon vehicle. I think I like that. I think that's good. Heavy tanks, though, still way too expensive in points, and they do way too little. And even the ability to put a Panzer Ace on some of them, not going to happen. I don't think this will change anything. We might be able to dig out one tank that might be worth it for Panzer IVs. I can't remember if there was one of them that maybe had an upgrade of Panzer Ace. But they're so expensive. So expensive. The Stuks are a little better. Mostly because in version 3 they've got 2 turns, so the front-mounted guns are not going to be as much of a detriment. And I think the Stuk 3 ABCDE is worth it. You could even put a little bit of those Stuk riders on top of it. The Kugelblitz is also back at 205 points. I think potentially also worth it, and maybe the only heavy tanks, the Stuk and the Kugelblitz, that are still worth it. For me, again, a little bit of a missed opportunity here for bringing some of those heavier German tanks into play and making them worth it. What about other vehicles, gun platforms? Well, in the armored section, you get the Lorraine Slepper, 125 points with a medium howitzer. Nice, really worth it. 2 turns, again, really worth it. The Panzerwerfer, 84 points, or the Hotchkiss with the mounted, what was that name? It also has a multi-rocket launcher that it can fire. So those really worth the points. Again, multi-rocket launchers is a thing for Germany. The SDEKF said 251/17, 75 points, has a light autocannon, 7+. Again, very worth it. The Drillings, again, with 3 light autocannons, 135 points. Brilliant. Love it. The 6-Rad, 95 points, 7+. It's got Recce with dual steering and a light autocannon. Again, very, very worth it. All the light tanks here, or the light, what was in version 2 armored cars, I like them. They're very, very worth it. If you look through the soft skin section, there's a lot of options, but I think the plain old Opel Blitz with a light autocannon on top of it, 45 points, that is very, very good. It takes the light autocannon for 40 points, for 5 points extra. It makes it maneuverable much better. Much better. Here comes the sad part. So, like the armored vehicle section here, lots of goodies. But the 222 and the 250/9 are now open-topped. Everyone was hoping that thing, the turret, actually, because it has this mesh on top that was there to prevent grenade from being locked into it. We were hoping that it wouldn't be open-topped, but it is. So, do I think that this will change massively the meta? No, I don't. I think Germany will be an army of infiltrators, which is nice to see. and an army of fieldcraft, which is also nice to see. But I think the most competitive choices for the Germans are autocannon, light vehicles, and Nebelwerfers, multi-rocket launchers, which doesn't change the meta a lot. Thank you so much, Warlord Games, for sending me a copy, and thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.